Hey everyone, before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This story is about betrayal, hidden truths, and a slow-burning revenge that will leave you stunned. The streets of Lisbon were wet with drizzle that evening, the sky heavy and gray, the Tagus River reflecting the dim glow of street lamps like liquid silver. I walked quietly through Alfama, coat collar turned up against the chill, my thoughts heavier than the winter air. A week ago, my life had fractured in a single, silent moment. Marta, my wife of 7 years, had accused me of causing her anxiety, not indirectly, not in passing, but as if I had personally constructed her nervousness, her sleepless nights, her racing heart. "It's you," she had said, voice sharp, trembling. "You're the reason I can't breathe, the reason I feel trapped." I had opened my mouth to respond, but no words could reach her. I realized then that the person I had loved, the woman who had once confided her dreams, her fears, her secrets to me, had turned her pain into accusation. I left the apartment that night without a fight. No yelling, no argument, just a quiet step into the darkness. I stayed in a small, rented flat overlooking the river. From the balcony, I could see the city moving below. Trams rattling over rails, fishermen tending their lines, cafes steaming with espresso and pastries. The city had always had a rhythm of survival, of slow endurance, and I clung to it, drawing strength from its constancy. For weeks, I did nothing that resembled revenge. I focused instead on observation. Marta continued her routine, oblivious to the quiet truth gathering in the corners of her life. I watched her interactions with friends, colleagues, family. She was meticulous in her appearance of control, but small cracks began to show. The way she flinched when someone entered the room abruptly, the way her emails betrayed subtle manipulations, the little lies she told without hesitation. It took a month before I realized the extent of what had been hidden from me. Marta had not just blamed me for her anxiety. She had constructed a pattern of deceit that stretched far beyond our marriage. I discovered emails to her therapist, carefully edited logs, suggesting conflicts and tensions I had never caused. Stories of my alleged aggression, my supposed failings. She had rewritten our history to cast herself as the victim, the fragile, suffering woman. The anger that rose in me was not immediate, not raw. It was cold, patient, and focused. I began to document everything: her correspondence, her social media manipulations, the subtle gaslighting she employed with mutual friends and family. Every lie was cataloged, every distortion of truth captured. One evening, I met with her best friend, Sophia. I had always trusted Sophia, but Marta had been using her as a sounding board, a validation tool for her distorted narrative. I approached Sophia with care, showing only fragments at first: emails, receipts, minor inconsistencies. She gasped, eyes widening, but I remained calm. "You need to see the whole picture," I said. "Everything she's told you, every story she's shared. It's been curated, selectively edited. For 3 years, she's been rewriting reality to fit her own narrative." Sophia turned pale. I had no idea," she whispered. "I trusted her." "Exactly," I said. "And that trust has consequences." Over the next few weeks, I orchestrated the exposure with precision. I didn't confront Marta directly. I let her weave her lies into spaces where the truth would inevitably surface. Mutual friends began to notice contradictions in her stories. Colleagues questioned inconsistencies in her accounts of our life together. I shared evidence discreetly, ensuring that it came from neutral sources, from emails and messages she had sent, from receipts she had forgotten to destroy. The culmination arrived on a Saturday evening. Marta had hosted a small gathering, inviting friends, neighbors, and colleagues into the apartment she had once shared with me. I had arranged for a few of the attendees to review key pieces of evidence beforehand, anonymously. As she regaled them with her carefully crafted tale of anxiety and suffering, fragments of truth began to leak into the room. Small, undeniable truths she could not explain away. At first, she noticed the shifts in expressions, the raised eyebrows, the suppressed murmurs. Confusion flickered in her eyes, quickly replaced by panic. She attempted to redirect the conversation, but it was too late. The guests began asking pointed questions, referencing evidence she could not deny. Receipts from restaurants, emails, text logs, all pieces of the puzzle she had assumed she controlled, now framed in a way she could not manipulate. Marta's facade cracked. She faltered, voice trembling, eyes darting from friend to friend, realizing for the first time that the carefully curated image of victimhood she had built over years was collapsing. The anxiety she had blamed on me became visible in her posture, her stammer, her inability to maintain eye contact. I observed silently from the edges of the room, letting the truth speak for itself. There was no need for confrontation, no need for spectacle. The evidence, the documentation, and the carefully orchestrated exposure were enough to dismantle the narrative she had constructed. By the end of the evening, Marta's social and professional reputation had shifted. Friends who had once unquestioningly accepted her stories began to withdraw, hesitant, unsure. Colleagues reassessed professional collaborations, questioning the reliability of her claims. The consequences, subtle yet devastating, were irreversible. I returned to my flat overlooking the river, the lights of Lisbon reflecting off the water like scattered jewels. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened. The rage that had simmered quietly, nurtured by betrayal and lies, had fulfilled its purpose. Justice, patient and precise, had arrived without spectacle, without confrontation, simply as truth revealed through careful observation and timing. In the weeks that followed, Marta attempted to reconcile with friends and colleagues, but the cracks in her narrative remained. Trust, once broken, is difficult to repair, and she had spent years eroding it herself. I received occasional messages from her, pleading, apologizing, rationalizing, but I did not respond. There was nothing left to say. The consequences had spoken louder than any words could. I spent my evenings walking along the river, the cool air carrying the faint scent of salt from the estuary. The city moved on around me. Tram bells, distant laughter from cafes, the soft lapping of water against the quay. The world continued, indifferent to personal drama, yet I felt a profound sense of equilibrium. The betrayal that had once threatened to consume me had been met not with impulsive retaliation, but with calculated patience and the quiet force of truth. Months later, I met Sofia again, this time for coffee in a small cafe near Praça do Comércio. She smiled, a mixture of relief and lingering disbelief. "You were incredible," she said softly. "I never imagined someone could wait, plan, and remain so calm." "I learned from my family," I said. "Patience, observation, timing. Revenge is not about rage. It's about restoring balance." The lessons were hard-earned. Betrayal cuts deep, but it can also illuminate paths that anger cannot see. Marta had underestimated me, underestimated the slow, inexorable power of truth. And now, she faced the consequences, fully, without excuses or intervention. I returned to the river that evening, watching the lights shimmer across the water. The city hummed quietly, alive yet indifferent. The betrayal, the years of anxiety falsely imposed upon me, had been met with resolution. I understood fully that patience, clarity, and precise action are far more devastating than anger or impulsive confrontation. Lisbon's fog rolled in softly, carrying with it the scent of salt and rain, of endings and beginnings. I inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the past lift, replaced by a calm certainty. Truth had been revealed, balance restored, and the quiet justice of years long observed had spoken. In that stillness, I finally smiled. Not from triumph, not from cruelty, but from the profound satisfaction of inevitability fulfilled. The betrayal had ended, and with it, the last ties to a life corrupted by lies. I had waited, I had observed, and now the truth had destroyed what deceit had built, and in its wake, I was free.